Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Bull motherfucking Harris.
Yeah, all because he had a GoFundMe sent to his phone by another brother. Because I got brothers in that Pagans faction that still with me, but they can't do it openly because I'm out bad no contact. All right. So when those brothers went up there and they stood up on Mother Club and told them, "Look, we're gonna do what we want," we were in talks. I was in talks with them. All right, we got to get this different. We got to set something up different because if you take notice, Cossacks are doing it. They've done it. The Pagans. This isn't the first time. Actually, Nails did it back in I think it was early in my 90s, 80s, something like that. And he took a whole bunch of group of guys with him. But every time it's been done, it never lasted no longer than a year, where they were disenfranchised, bunch of group of guys, and eventually they either disbanded or back.
Yeah, Warlock. The Warlocks
because they made a deal or whatever. But I'm gonna stand on business because pagans don't. Pagans.
Yo, you freeze. You froze. The Warlocks have
Okay,
done it.
my
The
food.
Cossacks have done it. The Warlocks
Yeah.
have been, or the
So
Cossacks have been going for 9 years. The 1% Cossacks.
I was in talks with actually one of their guys. He's a famous digital creator, and I just seen him pop something up on that one day. So I was like, "Hey, look, man, reach one to teach one, educate me." At one point, when I was still in North Carolina, I had a disagreement with Mother Club. We were about to go. We went all up north and took our bottom rockers off. No more East Coast. We were going to be called North Carolina Pagans, and they even had the patch mandated that said CAF, which is Carolina's. And I'm the one who created Carolina's, where they had this diamond made. So here I come into the party with a big side rocker that says Carolina's, and that told everybody they stole the idea from Bull. But that was okay. Like when Carolina went up there to Philly, I'm not Philly, but PA, and they got settled. We ended up putting the bottom rockers back on. That showed me a little something, that if they were that willing to be able to do it, all you need is following. All you need is your people to appoint you, to believe in you, and no one falter, no one budge an inch, no one makes deals. We're not going to start doing all this to just go back because we're backtracking. It's simple. Take out all the moving parts and do what you said you're going to do. Do what you promised. You know, it's very easy when you are who you say you are. You don't have to go digging on somebody and find out, oh man, you're a cop, or you're a informant. Oh my God! But once you're around it, you're stuck because you've already done it, and they were in the room. Those guys, they went up and they stood on their own 2 feet, and they eventually I got the okay to where they were like, "Bull, you gonna be the South Dixie 13, whatever." I was calling it a 14 for Nomad. They called it 13. They didn't give it a name, so I was like, "All right, well, mothers they drown their young, so why don't we try to be a man about it? It's a man's club, right? Why don't we be father club? We start directing some discipline and straight structure to straighten it up." Get rid of the money. Brothers should not be breaking bread because you become a conflict of interest. Now, if it's a personal thing, it's a personal thing. It's not on a club level. Club doesn't even know about it. Okay. But I've seen so many instances where brothers go into something like that. Like, there was a big club back in the day. It was two brothers, and they patched in this big old club, and they were picking one from the other. You get one, you get this one, you get this one, this get one, and it caused a business conflict, which ended up causing a war just because those two had a personal business, which I ain't gonna say what it was, but something they shouldn't have been into. It causes problems when you're mixing money with brothers. Over here, the only thing you don't pay no dues because that's a federal indictment, straight up and down. I don't need your money. I mean, this wasn't about me. The whole idea that I pitched to PA, or that I was voicing at that time on social media, and they went up to my club, stood on it, and I was kind of appalled that I wasn't able to get a shirt at the beginning of that, because I'm like, here I am, the voice, but then I was like, that's what my purpose is. I'm not the one to change it all. I'm the one who's going to stand behind the one, and spark in his heart and his mind, get him to change it. Okay. So I put my time and effort into a brother and started seeing he's very influential. Love him to death. And I do believe that him and his brother that we were talking about earlier is the sole reason why my ass is still breathing. Just for the simple fact is like, he's like, boy, there's so much stuff that you don't even see, you know. Just I love you, bro. Just speak about me in good ways, you know. And that's this podcast. I check that, make sure, hey, bro, y'all good with this because I'm still active, you know. And we don't talk on social media. It's like, no, you got 100% our vote. Go ahead. That's love right there. That's
Yeah.
trust. Yeah. That's trust. They were like, well, you educate probably 3/4 of this club. So we trust that you know what to say and what not to say and what bring up, what not to bring up. Because in fact, you got people coming in prospects, could be feds, you know. You gotta vet them.
Lou Dobkin.
Yeah, my grandmother was married to him. My grandmother Sandy. I did not know about the pagans because she did not say anything to me about it growing up. She didn't mention Lou at all. And I asked her why. She said she was because it was a horrible past that she finally got away from. I mean, she had done remarried twice. You know, he's been dead since 1989. You know, that's a long time. She done moved on. You know, and I get that. When I started coming back east of the North Carolina, I started getting wrapped up with that. And then I got that call to be a pagan. I started prospecting. She found out, and she disowned me. You know, for I think a year. My mom, my dad, and her. It didn't have nothing to do with me because my mom sees it on news or on Wikipedia. Oh my God, they're a bunch of goat. And it's so farthest from the truth. But you know, they thought what they thought, but eventually, my grandma come back around first, and she was like, "Look, I'm not for the same reasons as your mom and your dad. This is the reason why," and she laid it on me. I didn't get his stuff right yet. We were just talking, and she was like, "Well," one night she was like, "I'm gonna tell you something. You're the most knowledgeable about Lou, probably more so than I am." She was like, "So I'm gonna tell you this. You're the closest thing to him, and the way he is, he's a man of many different tools. He's like, he's a man of different faces. You don't never know which one. He's a biochemist and a biker, you know. So he's definitely diverse." She was like, "You're so much like him. He would have loved you." And she's like, "Did you know he died in January '89 and you were born in August '89?" She said, "That's mighty weird, ain't it?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't believe in stuff like that." But at that point, I started like, "What? Are you serious?" But it was crazy. And we just started talking. She got to talking a little bit more deeper about her relationship and stuff. You know, grandmas don't do that, you know.
Yeah.
And she told me what she had. And at that point, I was like, "Can I have it? Can I have it?" She was like, "I'll give it to you when it's needed, as piece by piece. Because if I give it to you all at one time, you're gonna because either you're gonna dish it out the wrong way. You're not gonna follow the instruction, and you're gonna end up getting clipped." And she's 85 years old, and she's seen that. Uh, and I was
So
like,
do you want to explain who Lou Dobkins is?
Lou Dobkins is the founder to the Pagans Motorcycle Club. He is the one that came up with the name, which came from his German Shepherd, which name was Pagan. Sandy gave Lou, the founder, the dog, and then see the club's first name was called the Vikings when it was AMA. It was only an AMA club for like not even a year, which started on January 1st, 1963. Okay. Uh, um, I'll get to the 1959 in a minute why it's not that, it can't be that. But anyway, all right, they got kicked out of the AMA because they showed up to an event in, I think it was that September, and they were turned away because some of them had collars, some of them didn't. And if you look at the AMA regulations on the uniform, it says that you must wear a collar back then. And just because a few of them didn't have them on, and they were starting to grow a lot more of I would say, a criminal aspect. Because yesterday we were all mom, hot pops, boys, greasers is what they called them. And now we're starting to show, all right, this dude's got a murder rap. it started changing very quickly. It blew up almost overnight, and Lou didn't know what to do with it. Like, went to bed one night, woke up like he went to bed with 50 members, woke up the next day with 500. I mean, it's not that many, but you see what I'm saying? It just everybody at that time wanted to be a pagan, and it's always been like that. But Lou, it's not what he intended, because very quickly on he seen that it was getting that way, and it was causing him a lot of trouble at work. He was having some issues personally anyway, like him and his old lady and stuff like that, trying to find out who he is, because he, as the founder, he chose to step down. He handed it off to Dutch, which Dutch had, at the time, only been in for about a little over 2-3 years.
June 21st, 1966. It's done. I called a meeting of the senior members last night and told them my decision. The reactions were mixed, to say the least. Some understood, others felt betrayed. Apple, my VP, looked at me like I'd lost my mind. You're leaving us now? When the heat's on? I tried to explain that my stepping down might actually help cool things off, but I'm not sure he bought it. The hardest part, 7 years as president, and it all came down to that moment. My hands shook as I got up. Funny how a piece of fabric can mean so much. After the meeting, I took one last ride, just me and my bike, out on the open road. I rode for hours, trying to clear my head. The sun was coming up by the time I got back home. It felt like saying goodbye to an old friend. This morning, I walked into the NIH like nothing had changed. But everything has. I'm jumping at shadows, half expecting a cop or a reporter to pop out from behind every corner. My colleagues have no idea of the double life I've been leading. To them, I'm just good old Dr. Dobkin, always on time, always reliable. If they only knew. I keep wondering if I've made the right choice. The Pagans were more than just a club to me. They were family. But then I think about that night in Arlington, about how close we came to real tragedy. What if someone had been killed? Could I have lived with that on my conscience? I elected Frederick Dutch Burhans from Arlington, Virginia, as the new president. He's a tough son of a gun. He's the muscle, I'm the bronze. Dutch has been with us almost from the start, but he's got a mean and violent streak that worries me. I fear the club might be headed down a darker path now. Part of me wants to stay and fight for the original vision of the Pagans, but I know that's not an option anymore. I've asked Jed to keep me in the loop, unofficially, of course. I may not be wearing the patch anymore, but those guys are still my brothers. I'll help where I can, from the shadows. Tonight, I'll go home to my wife and kid, have dinner like a regular family man. No late-night rides, no club business to attend to. Just a normal, quiet evening. It should feel like a relief, but instead, there's this hollow feeling in my chest. The Pagans will go on without me. They might become something I never intended, but that's out of my hands now. All I can do is hope that the brotherhood we built will be strong enough to weather whatever storms are coming. As for me, it's back to the lab tomorrow. Back to test tubes and microscopes instead of bikes and bar fights. It's the smart choice, the responsible choice. So why does it feel like I'm losing a part of myself? Only time will tell if I've done the right thing. For now, all I can do is move forward and hope for the best.
And where was
Where?
Yeah, where was it founded?
The club was founded out of the backwoods of Vienna, Virginia, out in Lou's sister's basement, with Bobby Warner, Linda Warner, Lou, Sandy, a dude named Lou, but they called him Ralph Taylor, Dave Hartman. There's maybe 3 or 4 more, or that I'm not thinking of right off the bat. But those were the main characters. Little Jesus was there. People like that, they're the most that these people that are listening would know, just the basic knowledge of it. But they did it in the backwoods of Vienna, Virginia, because in his sister's basement, because that's really all they had at the time, because he was living with his sister. Because the 1959 thing, I've got his service form. It says where he was stationed, the year he was stationed, and by the way, I've got his license, his motorcycle endorsement. He never had a motorcycle endorsement until the age of 23. And he never even rode a motorcycle until he went to the Navy. He was in the Navy in 1959. He was 18 years old. Do the math. Born 1941. I mean, there's no way.
A lot of people might think that this was started out in Philadelphia or somewhere else.
Prince George County, Maryland, 59. Okay. The reason that they went back to 59 that I can think of, and the old school brothers that I was able to talk to,